What's up, Flavor Fiends? This is Jace, Black Raven Pet and Purpose, and this week we're doing pork belly cinnamon rolls and talking about the nonprofit called Compassion in Action. Now it's about 28 degrees right now, hence the giant coat. You may have seen me wear this in another video. It's cold here in Nebraska, so we're gonna just kind of work with what we can. Let's go ahead and go to the prep and get this going. All right, so the first step in making this is kind of just preparing your pork belly. I trimmed off a little bit of the bottom layer just so I can kind of get this to roll a little bit easier towards the end. I'd also, if you want to trim it down on the fat just a little bit, you don't want any thick fat, just like a good quarter inch worth. I will show you my bottom because I accidentally trimmed it too much. You can see where I kind of got into the meat there, but that's okay. We're just going to kind of make it work because it's the only one I got. So here we go. So first we're going to start with a filling. This is going to be like the innards of our cinnamon roll. So basically what I have here is about, about a tablespoon and a half of, well, it should be softened butter, but I accidentally melted mine, but that's okay. There's about a half cup of brown sugar, about I think about a tablespoon of cinnamon, a little bit of paprika, and a little bit of salt. So we're just gonna go ahead and mix this all together. Try and get this as mixed up as I can. My brown sugar had been sitting for a little while, so there's a few little rocks in there. We'll just crush them with our hands real quick, make sure we get everything mixed in properly. That should do. Now, if this was softened butter, it'd probably turn out more as like a soft gel, for lack of a better word that I can think of right now, but that's okay. We're just gonna sprinkle this all over and hope for the best here. So let's just go ahead and take it a few spoonfuls at a time here and just kind of spread it out and see where we're sitting. So again, we're trying to just kind of cover the entire top layer if we can. We're going to be rolling this all together. I have my meat side down right now in case you couldn't tell. And that looks to be the last of it. Let's scrape off what little bit is in here. Oh, wow. That tastes amazing. Okay. So we're just going to kind of spread her out. Pack it down as you go. Make sure it sticks. And I'm tempted to not push it all the way to the edge because I don't want to lose any. However, we're going to do our best here and just kind of get it spread out as we can. That's looking pretty good. All right, so next is the roll step. So I'm going to rotate this so you guys can see a little better. I have my fatty side here, my thin side here. I think based on how I'm looking at this, I'm going to start with the thicker side over here. Kind of roll into the thin side. Get this centered here, give myself some workspace. All right, so we want to get this just as rolled tightly as we can. So just kind of really push this in. I'm using the edge of my pan right now to kind of give me a little bit of leverage. And then I'll pull it out and tuck it. That's okay if it's not perfect right now. We're gonna kind of make some adjustments once we get to the skewering part of this. All right, and that's looking all right. So that's essentially what we're looking at right there. Just a pretty nice little roll. Could be a little tighter, but I'm not going to complain. All right, so I'm going to prop this against the side here. And then I'm going to remove my gloves, as much as I hate to do that, but get out some twine here. We're just gonna tie this up. Now when you do this, you don't want to do it super tight. You want to do it kind of just enough to hold it in place. So I'll move one tine to the center of my pan. Pick up my pork belly. Get it around there like that. Do one of those. And that's looking pretty good. So again, not super tight. I'm not like tightening it to the point where it's crushing the meat by any means, but just holding it together. So I'll move this back to the side to give it just something to rest against. Pull out some more twine here. Then we'll do the other side. There we go. It's looking pretty good. Okay. Now we're going to let this sit in the fridge uncovered for about 30 minutes, and then we'll move on to the next step. All right, so our pork belly has been sitting in the fridge for about 30 minutes now. It's time to go ahead and cut off the twine and cut out the individual rolls, and then we're going to skewer them and kind of set them in place and get the right shape that we want. So let's go ahead and start, and we'll cut off the twine here. Just be careful not to pierce the actual pork belly. Now the reason we put it in the fridge is just to kind of help it hold its shape. I have a feeling once I start cutting into this, it's probably not going to hold, but that's okay. We're going to adjust this and kind of get it tightened up once we get them on the skewer. So not a big deal if it falls apart on you. Now we're going for about 2-inch thick cuts here. Based on what I got here, it's looking like I could probably get 3 or 4 rolls out of this one pork belly. So let's go ahead and just kind of dive in here and see how it goes. Alright, this is holding together pretty well. Time in the fridge definitely matters. I'm just going to take this cutting and just kind of put it off to the side here. Let's go ahead and do another one. Alright, there's 2. Last cut here. Man, wish I had a sharper knife. This guy is not doing the best. Okay, so we got our 4. Let's go ahead and work on skewering. So, let's see, rotate that down. So a big thing on these is that this is your opportunity to tighten up your rolls. So you might be able to see this one kind of got a little loose on me. It's kind of a big hole right there in the middle of it. So we're going to start with that guy. So I'm going to actually unroll it quite a bit and kind of just tuck it. And then roll that tighter around. You want to get these as tight as possible. Just making sure that that brown sugar and butter and everything that we put on it earlier kind of gets around best as it can. And that's looking a lot better. So now with our skewers, we're going to want to go in at just a slight elevation. So if you go in flat, the chances of this slipping off your skewer increases. So we want to just kind of tilt it just slightly, just enough. Now that's kind of hard to do with me kind of going at this angle, so I'm going to actually go at a downwards angle with it. Just kind of pierce through all sides. Looks like we missed the other side, so I'm going to pull it back and redo it a little bit. Well, that'll have to do, I suppose. Now I'm going to try and get 2 of these rolls on each skewer. So I'm going to go ahead and push that one up. And we'll go ahead and move on to our next one. Again, we're kind of going to unwrap it just a little bit. Tuck it in. And re-roll that sucker. Now it's important that you want to pierce from the tail end, just kind of the end of the pork belly, it's just kind of sticking out. Let's kind of rotate this so you guys can see. I want to pierce through right here and kind of get all the way through to the other side. This one feels good. Oh yeah, there we go. Be sure and leave some space between them. We want to be able to get smoke everywhere. Now I'm going to take a second skewer and pierce it through just in another spot, just kind of make sure that these stay secure. So I have my first skewer right here underneath my finger. I'm going to go just to the end of it. And this will help hold them in place. Man, these are not easy to get through. All right, so we're through the first one. Go ahead and move on to the second. And you might find it helpful to kind of rotate it a little bit so you can kind of get an eye on what you're doing here. There we go, through the second. Kind of poked my finger there a little bit, but that's all right. We'll worry about that later. All right, so right now they're kind of touching. I want to separate these out a little bit. Sure to give us some space for the smoke to kind of collect. And that's about what we're looking for. So they shouldn't fall apart on you as you rotate them around. This one has, you know, they each have a little bit of a gap here, but that's okay. We're looking pretty good, I'd say. Man, that one really got me. All right, so be careful when you're skewering these things, because that thing definitely got my thumb pretty well. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Again, we're just going to kind of unroll it just a bit. I'm going to tuck in that inner portion here, kind of re-roll, just as tight as we can get it. Now you may have some of your brown sugar and butter filling kind of falling apart on you as you do it. That's okay. Just kind of keep in mind, like if you keep it flat on your tray or whatever you're using to roll these on, it'll kind of help scoop it up. So not a big deal. All right, so again, we'll take our skewer. We're gonna go from the one side, poke it through. There we go. This one I might try a little bit differently, just to kind of see what happens here. So before I put my next one on, I'm going to go ahead and poke this other skewer through. We're going to kind of widen it out a little bit. There we go. Okay, I'll push that all the way down. All right, then take our other one. Again, unroll it a little bit, tuck it in, tightly roll it back together. And I have a feeling I may regret doing it this way, but we're going to try getting both skewers through here at the same time. I'm going to kind of use my waist to kind of help drive this forward here. Okay, that worked somewhat. I'd say really either method is fine. It's really just whatever works best for you. So you can kind of see what I'm looking at here. There are two different skewered cinnamon rolls, whatever you want to call them. Here's what we're looking for. You know, two skewers going through. That way I can kind of pick them up, move them around, and I don't have to worry about them falling apart on me. All right, so I'm going to change gloves, then we'll move on to the next step. All right, now we got some new gloves on. Let's go ahead and move on to the last step of our prep here. So I have brown sugar, paprika, and just some regular table salt here. We're going to use the paprika and table salt very sparingly, but we want to give the rest of these guys a good coating in the brown sugar. Let's go ahead and open this guy up. Gonna reach on in, and I'm just going to go ahead and coat these heavy. So I'm just going to put a mountain of it on there, and then once I'm done kind of putting it on there, I'll spread it around a little bit. There we go, that's looking pretty good. All right, let's kind of spread this out a little bit, pat it down. You just want to get a nice good coating on here. That brown sugar is gonna caramelize a little bit, I'm hoping. Just kind of give these a nice, like, wholesome looking cinnamon roll look. Of course it's pork, so I have no idea how these are going to turn out really, but I'm hoping that with enough brown sugar we can kind of get them just to a nice kind of cinnamon roll-esque looking color. All right, so that's it for the brown sugar. Let's go ahead and move on here. We're going to take just a little bit of salt. So I'm just going to put a little bit of this in my hand here, just so you can see how much here. It's really not a lot. I guess that's maybe a quarter of a teaspoon. I'm just going to kind of, just a sweet dash on every one. Just enough to kind of get that salty taste to kind of kick in just a bit. That's looking pretty good. I'll put my waste over here so it doesn't get on my rolls. Then we're going to do the same thing with the paprika. Luckily, this one has a shaker on it, so I'm just going to give it a nice little dusting. Don't want to go too heavy with it. And what I'm doing is basically just putting enough to where I can just barely see it. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and show you guys what the final result looks like up close and from above, and then we'll move on to the smoker. Okay, so we got our pork belly cinnamon rolls all ready to go. Let's go ahead and get them on the smoker here. Now, because it's so cold, I have my smoker actually set at 260 degrees. Normally you would do this at about 250 degrees in areas where people may be watching this, where it's not freezing outside. So I bumped the temp up just to kind of make up for the freezing temps to kind of make sure that our grill is kind of really nice and hot. So let's go ahead and get these on. All right, so we're gonna let those be for about 65 minutes or so. We're basically just looking for the brown sugar that we put on earlier to kind of just start caramelizing and start darkening up. So we'll check on these in about an hour, kind of see how they're looking at, then we'll move on to the next step. Let's go ahead and take a look here. Those are looking good. Let's go ahead and move on to the next step, which is getting them in a foil pan. Alright, so as I'm undoing these, they're coming uncoiled. It is what it is at this point. There's not much we can do about it, so we're just going to keep moving along. We'll fix them once we get these skewers out of here. Okay, those last two seem to stay pretty well. So Again, we're just going to kind of reshape here best we can with these awkward gloves. Alright, so we're just going to coil them up. Yeah, it's hard to do when it's freezing outside. Okay, I'm going to call that good. I'm going to stick a skewer in this. Not a skewer, excuse me, a temp probe. Piece that just kind of fell out here, so I'm just going to take a thick piece and stick it all the way through. That should do her. Alright, so I'm going to take a maple glaze sauce that we just made and kind of pour that over the top. Those look good. We'll throw this back in the smoker. And we're just going to cover lightly with a little bit of foil. Keep some of that heat in there. Those are up. Okay. Apologies if the wind is getting a bit intense for you guys to be able to hear me clearly, but we're going to leave these in here until they get to an internal temperature of about 195 to 200, and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so the freezing temps outside have kind of affected the whole cook here. So I got them covered in foil, and probably within 10 minutes they shot right up to 200 degrees, so I had to pull them out immediately. I'm also making potatoes and green beans to kind of go along with this meal, so I have to kind of hold them. So if this happens to you, then here's what you're going to do is just put them in a cooler, and I'll show you what I've done here. So I have them in a cooler, covered in towels. It should be good there for about 75, I'd say probably tops. At that point, what I'm going to do is when I'm ready to pull them out, I'm going to throw them back on the smoker for about 10 minutes. And well, probably not even that, probably about 5 to 10 minutes, probably closer to the 5 side. And then what I'll do is I'll pull them out, loosely tint them for a little bit, and then we'll put the final icing on. So things are getting crazy with the temps outside, so I apologize for this video being a little chaotic, but I'm just basically going to move forward, and we'll see you guys again when we get down to the final icing part. Okay, so once they're done, they should look something like this, except hopefully yours actually stay more round and connected. I'll let these rest for about 15 minutes, and then we're ready for the very last step. And there we have it. Okay, after all day smoking in not sub-zero, but freezing temperatures, we are finally ready to go. Had some hiccups. Hopefully you guys who aren't smoking in cold weather don't have those hiccups. If you have questions about any of this, feel free and message me. I'm happy to answer any questions that I can about how to do this, no matter where you're living, what temperature it is outside. I don't care. Just hit me up. I'm happy to talk about this. Let's go ahead and try it. All right. Let's take a little piece off here. Holy crap. This tastes just like a cinnamon roll. These are just, they're so sweet. And you can taste the cinnamon and the brown sugar really coming through. That maple glaze that we put on earlier really hits hard on these. And then this frosting, I did not expect the frosting to work at all on these, but oh my God, these are so good. This literally tastes just like a cinnamon roll. It's so hard to believe this is actually pork. Holy crap. Wow, this might be one of my favorite things I've made sweet treat wise. But that apple pie that I made quite a few episodes back was also really good. So it's really tough to decide between the two, but holy shit, this is amazing. Oh my gosh. Please check out our nonprofit of the week, Compassion in Action. Their website is below, so you guys can find out more about them, because it's really hard to share every bit of information I possibly can in one of these videos. Other than that, thank you guys so much for following, subscribing, liking, all of the social media things that I don't really get, but you guys understand better than I do. Appreciate you all watching. And yeah, thanks again.